Hello there, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for another edition of It's Your Call. I'm Lynn Doyle. How many times have you heard the word reinvention used lately when people are talking about changes that they're making in their lives? Maybe it's because they've left one career to start another. It might be because they've retired altogether, or maybe it's to concentrate on raising children at what I like to call a more mature point in our lives. Whatever it is, reinventing oneself is the buzzword of the year. So this hour, we're going to take a look at what that might mean for you if you're considering reinventing yourself. I want you to meet Leslie Gudel, who is in the process of a reinvention. She's been a successful sports anchor and reporter for nearly 2 decades. When she came to Philadelphia more than 12 years ago, she made history in that region by becoming the first female sports anchor ever. She covered major league sports from every angle. She's witnessed the wins and the losses firsthand and finally watched her beloved Phillies win the World Series. Along the way, Leslie married and had a couple of kids, and now she finds herself at a crossroads where career, children, and the challenges of both are putting a lot of demands on her time. Add to that her role as an entrepreneur and an inventor, and you definitely have an example of someone who has reinvented and continues to reinvent herself. Leslie, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm tired just listening to that. I didn't know I was so busy.
You are busy. Now, when someone asks you to describe what you do or to define yourself today, what do you say? How do you answer?
You know, it's interesting because if somebody that does not know me says, what do you do? I have to say, well, which career do I tell them about? You know, which one might be the, the appropriate conversation for this point. But, I tell people now that I own a company, but I'm also fortunate enough to be able to continue in a broadcasting career that I've enjoyed for almost 2 decades, and I can cover the Phillies and do exactly what I love doing.
So right now it sounds like you found the balance, but it wasn't without a lot of effort and a lot of challenges.
Yeah, and I think balance, and you and I were talking about this before we did the show. Finding balance is never fully achieved, in my opinion. If you have young children, 2 jobs, you're trying to get through every day, figuring out how to deal with the changes that get presented to you that go along the way. But I think that what you have to do is you have to prioritize, and I think family needs to be the first thought, and then how does everything else fit in there? And so that's what every day my husband and I say, what do we do? How do we keep this going?
You know, I always laugh because I give a lot of speeches to a lot of women's groups talking about this so-called reinventing ourselves craze that's going on.
Yeah.
But if you've been a woman in a career, whether it's sports or anything else, television, and you've been a wife and a mother, you've reinvented yourself a couple of times. And that's what I always say to people. I had no idea how to be a wife, and then I had no idea how to be a mother. So as each of those things happened, I transitioned into them and essentially reinvented myself along the way. So there's a whole lot of buzz about reinventing, but we really do it all the time, don't we?
Well, and I also believe that if you look at, like, when I started this company, I had to look at something I've never done before. So you're going into an entirely new area of something that's completely new to you. So how do you tackle that? How do you find the right counsel to get you to the right places? And what I've found is there is such a wonderful resource of women out there that went to college, had careers, decided to have kids, and now they want to use their brain again, but they don't want to go back full time. So our company's giving people the opportunity to do that because they can work part-time, work from home, and they're brilliant. There's so many brilliant women out there to work with.
I want to talk a little bit about the company because you have a very seemingly glamorous career as a sports anchor. You broke ground as the first one in the Philadelphia region when you arrived there about 12 or 13 years ago. But this company is a new passion in your life, and it actually sprang from having children.
Right, and it was one of those, I think every single, it's the necessity is the mother of invention. That's so true, and I think it comes from having something that you can't figure out why there's not something out there to solve a problem. And I don't know a mom that hasn't asked that question before. I mean, how many times have you thought, how come they haven't made this yet? How come they haven't come up with that?
I have to tell you now, my children are much older than yours, which means I'm much older than she is.
I don't know, we're closer than you're giving credit.
Well, I don't think so. But my joke is that, we laugh about how we raise children without some of the materials that are out there today. I mean, I have twin grandsons now, and the things that my daughter had to help her in raising them when they were infants and now toddlers, it just blows my mind. We should tell people that Leslie actually invented the product that her company sells and produces as a result of a need that her child had. It's called the nap nanny.
Yeah.
Explain this for me.
Well, my daughter would only sleep in a car seat or a swing.
And how many of us have had that?
Well, and funny enough, I thought of it after she was older than the babies we've designed it for, but she was 8 months old. We were at a friend's house at the shore, and there were other people outside of our family there, and she wouldn't sleep in their pack and play. And I said, well, let's put her in the car seat. And 2 months later, she was still sleeping in the car seat on the floor in her room, and now she was 10 months old sleeping in a car seat. And I kept asking the question, how is there not something out there shaped like the car seat for home use? All there were wedges out there. And it was really just a matter of I dragged my feet for a few years, but it's really a matter of getting the ball rolling. You start paying the legal fees to get everything off the ground, look into patent searching and finding out that you in fact got a patent on your idea, and now you say, wow, I guess I have to do something with this.
And the funny thing is this concept really took off, not just locally, but nationally, and not just nationally, but in Hollywood, where when an idea takes off and the celebrities get on board, success is yours for the taking.
Yeah, we've been really fortunate in some of the opportunities we've had to, I guess, give away product to these people who have plenty of resources to buy it, but it's about exposure and getting your product out there. And we attended a show in January that was around the Golden Globes, and we just really, it was a tremendous response. We've had a lot of celebrities get back in touch with us and give us testimonials about how great they think the product is.
All right, so we used to say that you would do one profession by day and then perhaps be an inventor by night, but because Leslie's always worked at night, she's actually an inventor during the day and a sports anchor at night.
Exactly, I've swapped it. Well, what happened was when I was working full time and still anchoring, I would get off at 11 and I would come home and get home around midnight and settle in on the computer for a couple hours, and it just got exhausting. So
I understand that, because I'll tell you, I working nightly as well for all those many years, I was full of energy when I came home, particularly if you'd had a great live show. So I did all kinds of things at midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, but I don't want anybody talking to me at 8 o'clock in the morning.
No, it's a terrible time, isn't it?
You have little kids, and you don't have that option to say, hey, mommy doesn't want to be bothered right now. My kids are grown and married, so it's no big deal for me. How do you cope?
My husband is a tremendous support. I mean, he was. It took a while for him to understand that if I'm getting home at midnight, I need some help in the morning. But he was great about it, and I'm an 8-hour person, so if I can get 8 hours of sleep, I'm pretty happy. I wasn't getting that for a long time, but he does the laundry, so that's a huge step, and he's a neat freak, so those things really kind of help me out around the house.
Well, I tell you what, we're going to have some advice in our next segment about how you can reinvent yourself if you're looking to make a change but you don't know how, or if you have to make a change and you need help. We're going to tell you how you can do that. So stay with us. Our conversation about reinventing ourselves continues right after this.